Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a great launch day for YouAttest. We're proud to announce our fine-grained AWS audit integration. So this includes integration to all levels of AWS entitlements. First, our guest, Raj Sawhney, Managing Director, IT and Internal Audit at CDW. Welcome, Raj.
Thank you, Ashley. Good to be here.
Thank you for being here. So first, Raj, why is identity so important to cloud resources and to AWS in particular?
Well, as you know, that majority of the companies have moved to the cloud, and identity and access management continues to be a pervasive issue, probably the most important issue in terms of looking at risk, both for cloud security, for CISOs, for internal audit, compliance. And this particular talk is going to address that particular issue. How do we manage the privileged accounts, the user accounts that are located in the cloud environment as compared to looking at it on the on-prem environments that we're typically used to.
And what are the ramifications for compliance and security if these entitlements are not managed correctly?
Well, as I noted earlier, that privileged access management is the highest risk in terms of security. So if the cloud security, in particular AWS is what we'll be talking about today, is not managed appropriately, that leaves a huge gaping hole in terms of your security posture and opens you up to regulatory fines, opens you up to financial fraud, cybersecurity issues, and so on and so forth.
So enterprises should constantly be reviewing their AWS entitlements for security and compliance then, right?
Ideally speaking, yeah, and I think that's what the YouAttest enables users to do. What I find more often is that the reliance is often placed on the vendor, the cloud vendor, to do their due diligence, and they usually provide a SOC 1 or SOC 2 report, and then companies sometimes assume that the SOC 1 and SOC 2 will cover off on their risk, which is not the case. The follow-up to that is sometimes organizations do their own entitlement reviews, but they don't do it properly, and so we want to address that in this particular talk.
So would you agree that automation is key for reviewing AWS and other cloud entitlements?
I think based on what you've seen in the news lately in terms of AI, I think it's paramount to keep up with the automation that is there in IT, within business, and within the audit sphere. You notice that we're lagging behind. There have been many attempts at trying to automate unsuccessfully. And I think YouAttest is one of those products that has done it in a way that it's simple for the user, and you don't need a computer programmer to maintain it, and it can be done by current audit, compliance, or information security staff.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Raj. So, Garrett, what does YouAttest do to solve this problem?
Yeah, Raj did a great job of summing it up. Thanks, Raj. Yeah, YouAttest doesn't just audit who has macro access. YouAttest has taken the time to build an out-of-box connector and installs in minutes and gets full entitlement audit, including the root accounts, user accounts, groups, and then really something important that Raj helped point out, that we're gathering at the same time not only the user accounts, but also the permission and policies. That's a single grab that is across, and then you can audit your EC2, your S2, your Lambda all together, those policies and users, but best shown. So take it away.
Okay, let's take a look. So Kaushik, can you show a quick demo of AWS and YouAttest?
Absolutely. Let me just go ahead and share my screen, and please let me know when you can see it so I can start off.
We can see it.
Great. So after adding the connector, now you are able to pull the permissions and policies of each user that has access to your AWS account. And let me just show you how you do it. I'm just going to name it AWS Audit so I can reference it well with root account, which I'm going to explain in a bit. Select the due date when you would like this audit to be concluded, the time frame, and then after the integration, after you connect to the AWS via this integration, just select the connector. And on the next screen, you will see a few options where you can select all the users and then their status, whether they're active, you want to see the inactive ones, or you want to see all the users in there. And then you have a choice to include or exclude the root user that has given access to the admins initially, but you would like to see what is the activity of that root account inside AWS. So for that, you need to just check this box. And on the next screen, it asks you for the audit type. What would you like to the audit to look like? Would you like to fetch all the groups assigned to users? Okay, I do. And fetch all permissions and policies assigned to those users. Okay, I would like to see that as well, because that's something you don't see in one place when it comes to AWS IAM. But if you want to fetch all these options here, along with the groups and their permissions and policies, we can fetch that for you. Once you hit submit, it's going to fetch the data through that connector.
Just to reiterate, that point, if you were to do this manually, then AWS doesn't provide you those group permissions. You would have to actually run multiple reports and then join those in order to get this level of detail. Also, obviously, this is read-only. So from an audit perspective, this is actually much better, because if you're going to get an Excel output from AWS, that can be easily manipulated. And then you have to do further manipulation just to combine it, just to get to the roles and permissions that you're looking at here. Absolutely right. Yes, this, AWS doesn't provide everything in that Excel report that they get from AWS. So yes, all the permissions will be included. This is read-only. Nobody can manipulate the information. And let's see what the information looks like inside the campaign. So it gives you the root account. It's not actionable. You can only see certain details where you see the last activity, you see the MFA enabled or disabled. You see the last login date as well. So if any of these is against the policy, or you have set the policy, for example, for the password for 45 days, and the password hasn't been changed for the last 50 days, you will see this sign here, this mark here. When you go to the more details, you will see where exactly the problem is. So the problem is with the MFA at the moment. So it's disabled. You need to look into that and rectify. Plus, when you come to the users, you see more details. You get the attributes, their user status, if it's active or inactive, what's their last activity, if their MFA is enabled, what's the password age, last login date. So these are all the pieces of information that you would need to make your mind whether to certify or revoke the access of any individual that is in this report over here. And then you can always, if you have the managers assigned to these individuals, you can assign or delegate to those managers for them to take action for each individual, each user here and their access, because when you click on more details, it will show you what kind of access each user has, whether it's a group access or if there's a policy or permission that they have associated with their user ID. So you can decide for each one of these whether you want to certify them or revoke their access, and then you can comment on each one, why you did it and what was the need for certifying or revoking the access of this person. At the end, go ahead, please, Raj. Oh, no, I was just going to add that normally we do the user access review. What you get is a list of users. You don't often get those group permissions, so that's one. Second is the ability for YouAttest to provide certain vulnerability management type of information in terms of whether the MFA is enabled, disabled, the password information in terms of password age. So these are things that a security manager or a CISO's organization would be looking for. So this serves a purpose for information security beyond what is required just for audit purposes. So I just wanted to reiterate that point. That's perfectly said, Raj. That's exactly what it does. And then it will enable the admins to, although people, not a lot of people have access to AWS, but who have the access, they're more critical than anybody else in the organization. So they need to be reviewed and when it comes to the access level. So this is what YouAttest does with the AWS. You cannot see the root account elsewhere. If you have the report exported over to you to manage or to monitor those access levels, you don't see the root account in there, but YouAttest is able to pull that root account and show you the last activity of that account, for AWS.
over to you, Garrett or Raj.
Can you also walk us through just quickly the remainder of the review process? My understanding is that, again, that is automated so that the user, when that manager is reviewing the user, they're able to add all the details within YouAttest, add their comments, do the approve, deny, etc., and just talk a little bit about the automation on the latter end of the user access review.
Yeah, so when it comes to the automation, we have this delegation function available. When you are one of the admins who's creating the audit, you can easily auto delegate to the managers. I don't have it in this account here, but it says user manager and auditor. Once a user profile mentions who's the manager they're reporting to, that information is also pulled and it shows up over here. And after that, you can easily auto delegate, and the system will push out emails, notifications, or Slack notifications to those managers to review the whole campaign. What they'll do, they'll go to this campaign here, and they need to certify the users or revoke the users. Just check those boxes and do this. And after that, they will see if this action was performed, is certified or is revoked, who performed this action, and the timestamp will be here as well. But if you want to go granular, you can go in here and decide what do you need to do with each permission or each group access. Do you want to revoke this one? Okay, I'll just go ahead and revoke the group permission, but I will go ahead and certify the rest of them. So one will come up as revoked, the rest of the two will come up as certified, and that's what will be the part of the report. But if you want to comment on why you revoked the access of this person, the reviewer can put in notes here for reference. Whenever you get the audit report, that will be part of that evidence, the last evidence that you will get. So there will be the reason, typed in by the admin or by the reviewer why the access was revoked for certain user and why certified for others.
That makes sense.
This is what.
Yeah,
and it will be part of this report that you can get in PDF or CSV. Go ahead, please.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I think one of the things I wanted to focus on is this activity has been done manually, in the past, where if the entity is trying to review access for AWS, they either will rely on the SOC 1, SOC 2, which is not going to actually do any certification on the users, but then they might do it manually. And what problem with doing it manually is that when they provide the output in terms of the users for AWS, they don't provide you the access for the permission sets and the groups. And so you may actually be doing an attestation based on incomplete data. So this is where the YouAttest platform really adds value, where you can see the complete picture in terms of group access, permission sets, and not just user level data. Maybe you can elaborate on that, but that's one of the key things I noted in terms of the level of data that's available.
Yes, I mean that's what we did with AWS, because when you get the data or when you get a file or user data exported over to a CSV file from AWS through IAM, the report does not show all the fields, including the group and the permissions, the MFA, the password, date and last activity. It's not part of that report. You can only see user, their email IDs, and if their access level it says true or false, active or inactive, but it doesn't show you the detail. What we do in YouAttest, we pull all those attributes and all the access levels that are associated with any service being provided by AWS. So if there are like 200 plus services and any users has access to like 100 services, which is rarely the case, but we are able to show you those 100 services and the access for that user to those services as well. And not only that, you will be able to review their access. If you want to revoke 50% of those, you can do that. But with report, it's easily, you can manipulate it, you can add another column to it, but it's not going to be legit at the end of the day.
Right. And then the other thing, just in closing, Garrett can elaborate on this. One of the reasons that there's been low adoption in terms of automation in this area is it's just too complicated at times to implement this. There's certain tools actually require you to do scripting. Others are too expensive. And I think this is where YouAttest can really beat the competition, because here you have a tool that is easily implementable, easy to maintain, easy to run, and the cost is negligible compared to the competitors out there. I'll let Garrett expand.
100%, Raj, and I love where you took that. That's a great way to wrap this up. YouAttest is a background in SSO and application understanding. That's our background. That's our pedigree. So we look at all this stuff as stuff that should be integrated to using powerful SSO methods that exist, namely SAML, OIDC, etc., and then pull all the data so the enterprises don't have to do that 3-month, 6-month, 9-month integration process. The integration is exactly as Kashif showed. There it is, SAML integration, rock and roll. Then let's understand the target. The target here is AWS. Let's get the user groups. Let's get the root accounts. Let's get the permissions and the policies and pull them in and then contextualize them in the YouAttest GUI and then automatically send those out to the reviewers with just the snapshot that reviewer needs to see. That's what we did. We've did our months of work before you, the customer or the MSP, have to. So your integration and your experience is trivial. Just doing your job of the review. Great sign off there, Raj. Appreciate it. Take it away, Ashley.
Okay, so the best next step for the audience is to contact us at info@youattest.com, and we will address all your cloud and on-premise identity auditing needs. So thank you, team, and thank you so much, Raj. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Great stuff, guys. Thank you, Raj.